You know what I love most about this country? Capitalism.
Yes, capitalism. That scene's going at the very top of this video. My name's Craig. I have a PhD in economics from Yale University, and I teach economics at the Huntsman School of Business at Utah State University, and I'll be reacting to Stranger Things 3. There will be spoilers. So my first thought during this opening sequence was, that has to take on so much resources. I mean, just think about when you turn on your air conditioner, that is super expensive and you're always trying to minimize your air conditioner use. This thing has to be using way more energy, and they never address those kind of things in these.
But in order to reach your house and downtown, gosh, that would take billions of volts of electricity and cost tens of millions of dollars.
Hey, they addressed it. So my wife's first thought during this opening sequence was, why do these people always do this kind of thing? Don't they realize that it's gonna cause problems? And so that's when I realized this is a classic example of negative externalities. So the scientists here have some personal benefit they're gonna internalize, and they also have some costs, but they don't internalize the social costs. They're doing something that's going to affect the entire society, but they don't fully appreciate that cost. And so they don't evaluate it. If they did, they would realize they shouldn't go out and do that kind of thing. It's kind of like polluting. You don't fully internalize that cost of polluting, and so society suffers while you sit out there and pollute.
Funny that I want to spend romantic time with my girlfriend.
So we have the mall representing modernization, economic growth, but then of course we have the abandoned downtown area, which is representing the evils of capitalism, and we know that they're evil because the mayor, the antagonist, is the one supporting capitalism.
Now, you know why they're out there, don't you?
They're not actually fans?
They lost their jobs to the mall and blame me for helping make that happen. Now, you go ask anyone else in this town. They all love the mall. It's helped our economy grow, brought in new jobs, and just some incredible new stores. Which is why they all stopped shopping at their mom and pops. Now, that's not me, Jim. That's just good old-fashioned American capitalism.
But of course, if you actually look, you'll see that some of these businesses have actually moved to the mall. So it's not that they have gone out of business, it's just that the spatial organization of the economy has shifted to being centered on the mall instead of being downtown. After watching the entire season, the first episode protesters really didn't make sense to me. Again, capitalism is being set up as an antagonist. We have these protesters really upset. We have the mayor promoting capitalism. But then that's really at odds with what we see later on in the season.
You know what I love most about this country? Capitalism.
Yes, capitalism. That scene's going at the very top of this video.
Do you know what capitalism is?
Yeah.
It means this is a free market system, which means people get paid for their services depending on how valuable their contributions are. And it seems to me, my ability to fit into that little bit is very, very valuable to you all.
Erica's jokes about capitalism and communism are fantastic, but then again, like, they really clash with what was happening in that first episode, where it seemed like they were setting up capitalism as the antagonist. This really clashes with what we see later on in the season with Murray and Alexei at the carnival.
В этих играх надувают? Да. Выглядит все по-честному.
В том-то и дело, дорогой мой Алексей. Они так задуманы, чтобы казаться честными. Но это все жульничество, трюк, чтобы вытянуть из тебя деньги в карман богача. Это, дорогой друг, и есть Америка.
When Murray is saying America is rigged, it's pretty clear that he's saying capitalism is rigged. And that's the tenor that we hear today. We hear a lot of people saying capitalism, America, they're rigged, and we need some system that will get us away from this rigged capitalist system, which is really apparent because we're then contrasting that with Alexei the Russian, and he's getting out here and experiencing it for the first time.
По-честному.
And so there we go. We have the Russian seeing that the system is not rigged. And so here we have this kind of vaunting of capitalism through Erica's comments and also through Alexei's experience here at the carnival. And then, you know, of course he dies because a Russian shoots him and calls him a traitor for participating in capitalism. And so this really clashes with the setting that we had at that very first episode, where it seemed like the mayor was going to be the antagonist and he was representing capitalism, and we had all these people displaced from their work. So I don't really understand why we have the protesters there when it doesn't really set up a big theme in the arc. Though I did really like some of the signs that the protesters had.
It's a total fire hazard. There's no stairs, there's no exit, there's just an elevator that drops you halfway to hell.
They're commies. You don't pay people, they cut corners.
Erica is the best character this season, and the really only character I remember the name of.
You can't spell America without Erica.
She's actually worked out a terrible deal.
And I'm talking free ice cream for life.
We can actually calculate the net present value of this deal, like how much money we would have to give her today instead of promising her free ice cream for the rest of her life. And we can do that because we know how much the ice cream costs.
Alrighty, one scoop of chocolate. That's $1.25.
So $1.25 a day for the rest of her life. If we assume a 7% interest rate, the net present value of that deal is about $6,500, which is a good chunk of change. But we have to realize that there are three really big uncertainties about this whole deal. The first is whether she actually lives through this thing. The second uncertainty is whether they're actually going to follow through with this commitment. There are time inconsistent preferences here. There's nothing binding them to this arrangement. Plus, there's the third uncertainty of whether they can actually keep their jobs for the rest of her life, which is obviously just not plausible given their age. And, you know, it turns out by the end of the season, it's not even happening.
Just to be clear, we weren't fired, you know. The mall burned down and, like, killed a bunch of people.
Good morning, class. Welcome to Game Theory. I'll be your teacher this semester, Professor Hopper.
2 Whoppers. Extra ketchup.
And so they're in this bargaining situation where Alexei is trying to extract as much as he can from Hopper, and Hopper really wants the information he can get from Alexei, so he's trying to extract it from him. And so they're trying to negotiate essentially on a price, and Hopper just becomes tired of the game that Alexei is playing with him, and so he changes the game from this bargaining game into a game of chicken.
Wait. I'm not gonna hurt him! Come on!
So Hopper and Alexei are engaged in a game of chicken. This is one of the games that we usually study in game theory when you're teaching this course. The idea being just like chicken, you know, who's going to diverge first. And so they're not literally driving at each other, but of course Alexei has this opportunity to escape, and he can either escape or he can stay, and Hopper can either let him go or he can chase after him. And the problem is, if Hopper chases after him and stops him before he goes, then he reveals his position. He doesn't think that he's in a strong enough position to extract what he needs to from Alexei. And if Alexei turns back too soon, he reveals his bargaining position, that he's not actually as strong as he wants. And so Hopper is sitting in here convinced that he has the stronger bargaining position, while the other characters are worried that Alexei actually has a stronger bargaining position and he's going to drive away.
Are the best chance he's got. I give him 30 seconds before he comes knocking on that door, right back into our arms with a new sense of humility.
And so in the end, we see that Hopper kept going while Alexei diverged in this game of chicken. Yeah, that's the look that a game theory professor usually has on his face.
Have you considered telling the truth?
Oh, you mean that I couldn't even get into tech and my douchebag dad's trying to teach me a lesson? I make $3 an hour and I have no future? That truth?
So I actually looked this one up. Minimum wage in Indiana in 1985 was $2 an hour. So this is actually a pretty decent job. Netflix makes it really hard to stick around and watch the credits on their videos, but if you stick around, you'll not only see a mouse flipping around with a katana, you'll see the sign about Georgia. If you want to understand what that Georgia at the end of the credits stands for, go ahead and check out my video on Georgia's film industry. That was an Economist reaction to Stranger Things 3. If you want me to react to Stranger Things 1 or 2 or even any other movies or TV shows, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching Market Power today, and be sure to subscribe.
Susie with a Z, she's from Utah.
I live in Utah.